Have you ever had a dream so big it felt like it could change your life forever? You imagine it, you see it, you can almost touch it, but then you wake up and nothing has changed. You're still in the same place with the same empty hands. Well, today we're going to meet someone just like that, a young man who dreamed of riches but refused to lift a finger. His story is a reminder that a dream without action is just a fantasy. So sit back, relax, and let's step into the world of Theo, where a single pot of milk holds the key to everything. The sun rose over the small village, casting a warm glow on the dusty streets. Farmers hurried to their fields, merchants opened their stalls, and children played near the wells. But under a large banyan tree, one young man sat with his back against the trunk, staring at the clouds. His name was Theo, and he was known throughout the village for two things: his strength and his laziness. He was tall and healthy, capable of doing any hard work, but he simply refused. He believed that one day fortune would find him without him having to move a muscle. He spent his days begging for food and sleeping under the shade. The villagers pitied him, often sharing their meals with him. To Theo, this was enough. Why work when others would feed him? One morning, a wealthy merchant decided to give back to the community. He stood in the town square handing out fresh pots of milk to the needy. It was his way of thanking the gods for a bountiful harvest. When Theo heard the news, his eyes lit up. He rushed to the square, pushing through the crowd, and grabbed a pot of warm, fresh milk. He held it close, smiling for the first time that week. He hurried home to his small, run-down hut. His father had already left for the fields, leaving behind a few pieces of bread on the table. Theo boiled the milk over a small fire, savoring the rich smell that filled the room. He poured himself a cup, dipped the bread into it, and ate happily. After finishing, he poured the remaining milk into a clay pot and placed it carefully next to his bed. Now, instead of going to help his father, Theo stretched out on his thin mat. He closed his eyes, and soon his mind began to wander. He pictured the pot of milk beside him. By morning, it would turn into thick, creamy cheese. He would take that cheese to the market and sell it for a few coins. With those coins, he would buy a hen. The hen would lay eggs, and those eggs would hatch into chicks. He would raise them carefully, and soon he would have a dozen chickens. Those chickens would lay hundreds of eggs, and before long he would sell them all and buy a cow. Then, with the cow, he would have milk to sell every day. The villagers would line up to buy from him. He would become rich. So rich that he could buy fine clothes and sparkling jewelry. Even the king would hear of him and order all his jewelry from Theo's shop. And then he would marry the most beautiful girl from the wealthiest family in the land. They would have a son, a handsome boy, and if that boy ever turned out to be lazy, Theo would grab a stick and teach him a lesson. Lost in his dream, Theo's hand reached for a wooden stick lying beside him. He waved it in the air, pretending to scold his imaginary lazy son. He swung it hard, and with a loud crack, the stick hit the clay pot next to his bed. Milk splashed everywhere, flooding the floor and soaking into the dirt. Theo sat up, his eyes wide. The pot was empty. The milk was gone. His dream vanished in an instant. He stared at the mess for a long time, then slowly cleaned it up. He felt a heavy weight in his chest, but instead of learning from his mistake, he simply lay back down and started dreaming again. The next morning, Theo woke up hungry. He walked through the village hoping to find another free meal. Nothing had changed. He was still poor, still lazy, still waiting for luck to find him. But you and we know the truth. Dreams are powerful, but they are not enough. If we want to change our lives, we must match our imagination with action. It's easy to sit and plan, but real success belongs to those who get up and do the work. Whether you want to learn English, start a business, or become stronger, the key is simple. Take one step today, then another tomorrow. Let's take a moment to learn some useful words from Theo's story. Dreams. Thoughts and images that come to mind while sleeping, or hopes for the future. For example, she has big dreams of becoming a pilot. Fortune, a large amount of money or luck. For example, he hoped to find fortune without working for it. Merchant, a person who buys and sells goods for profit. For example, the merchant sold fresh vegetables at the market. Bountiful, large in quantity, abundant. For For example, the farmers enjoyed a bountiful harvest this year. Pity, the feeling of sadness for someone else's suffering. For example, the villagers felt pity for the poor man. Stall, a stand or small shop where goods are sold. For example, she bought fruit from a small stall on the street. Imagination, the ability to create pictures or ideas in your mind. For example, his imagination took him on many adventures. Clay pot, a container made of baked clay, often used for storing water or milk. For example, she kept the water cool in a clay pot. Vanished, disappeared suddenly. For example, the smoke vanished into the air. Miserable, very unhappy or uncomfortable. For example, he felt miserable after losing his only meal. Action, the process of doing something to achieve a goal. For example, dreams need action to become real. If this story touched you or taught you something new, please like this video and share it with a friend who needs a little push to chase their dreams. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss another story. Keep learning, keep dreaming, but most importantly, keep doing. I'll see you in the next story.